What's up, guys? In today's video, we're gonna be talking about how you can land commercial water damage jobs for your restoration business. Listen, water damage is where it's at, super profitable. Commercial water damage jobs can turn your year around. That's right, we're talking $50, $100, $200, $300,000 phone calls. That's what we're talking about in this video. How do you get the water jobs? How do you execute them? What do you need to know about getting paid? We're gonna cover all A to Z in this video. If you own a restoration company and you wanna get commercial water damage jobs, you do not wanna miss this video. Let's go. All right, guys, as we get started, hit the like and subscribe button and drop a comment. Let me know where you're tuning in from. So as I said earlier, we're gonna talk about a handful of different things. We'll start with how do you get the jobs? Then we'll go into how do you execute the jobs? And then at the end, we'll talk about some things that you need to know if it's gonna be important about you getting paid for those water damage jobs. All right, so when it comes to getting commercial water damage jobs, there's two really easy ways to get them. The first one is from the internet. The second one is gonna be from ERPs, or emergency response plans. So we'll dive into the ERPs in a minute, but we'll start first with the internet. So why do people land commercial water damage jobs from the internet? Well, think about it. These things a lot of times are happening after hours and on weekends. And if a pipe breaks at 4 a.m. or 2 a.m. in a hotel, who are you gonna call? And a lot of times the people working the front desk, they panic, they don't know what to do. They pick up the phone, they go straight to the internet, and bam, you land them from the internet. I will tell you guys this, I promise you, the largest water damage jobs you will get ever will come after hours from the internet. So when it comes to landing commercial water damage jobs, you don't have to execute ERPs, or you don't have to build a bunch of relationships with commercial property managers. I mean, yes, it helps you do that, but here's the bottom line. If you just use the internet, pay-per call, pay-per-click, and just utilize the different resources from the internet, I promise you this, you will get calls for commercial structures for water damage. You will. And here's what I'll tell a lot of people. Don't worry about trying to put together the ERPs up front first in your business. If you just turn on the internet, you will get some calls and you can handle it, and that's gonna be a great introduction, all right? When it comes back to the commercial jobs as well, we'll talk in a minute about like how to execute them, how you can do them. A lot of people might be like, well, what do I do? How do I land them? Yeah, it is possible that you get a job so big that you can't tackle it. But know this, you will get kicked off that job if that happens, right? Like the minute that you pull up on that property with your little S10 or whatever your little car is, they will kick you off that project. It will be very apparent to you in pretty short order that I'm in way over my head. And if you are in over your head, feel free to call another restoration company and either partner with them or give them the lead and kind of watch them do it, okay? Just don't screw yourself, right? And so that's just the best way I can say it, right? Be aware when you're in over your head and let it go. Give it to somebody else. That being said, don't panic either, guys. Don't panic. If it's a 3-story hotel flood and you got 10 rooms that are wet, then it's 10 rooms that are wet and you're gonna do that 3 times. Level 3, level 2, level 1. Some cases you can do it. You'll know better, right? But it's okay to be a little stressed out, right? But we're getting beside the point. One of the best ways to land commercial water damage jobs will be from the internet. Just running your standard pay-per-call or pay-per-click campaigns, you can and will land water damage jobs from the internet, okay? You may get jobs from the internet even though they might have an ERP put in place, okay? Why would you ever get a job from the internet despite the ERP? Well, it goes back to this. If it happens at 4 in the morning or at 2 in the morning, whoever's running the front desk of that property may not know where that ERP plan is, okay? That they could be temp help. There's any number of things that could be going on. And so that brings me kind of this point too. It's not uncommon when you do commercial water damage jobs that there's not just like, hey, you sign it and it's yours. Like that is not how it works. When it comes to commercial work, there's actually a few different phases, right? And so one of the first phases is getting the first phone call. You got to go out there and get it signed, okay? And get it started that night. And so the first milestone will be getting the call and getting it signed. And then the first 24 hours after that, okay? Responding, getting it signed, and the first 24 hours. That's kind of your first trimester on a water damage job that's commercial, okay? Because when you arrive on your commercial water damage job and they finally realize that you are not ServPro, you're not Service Master, are you able to overcome that and maintain that job? Yes or no? If you are, awesome, good. But that job's still not yours, okay? So if it's 4 in the morning, tomorrow morning, the general manager is going to be landing on site and he's going to be figuring out like, hey, who is this? How big is this job? They don't know if it's going to be insurance or cash pay, etc. There's a chance that it does go from a cash pay to an insurance job, and they may call in the big dogs. They may call in Belfor, okay? They may call in whoever's on their ERP. It just really kind of depends. In many cases, if there is an ERP put in place, you're probably going to lose it right then. But in a lot of these cases, guys, they don't have an ERP, or it might take them a couple of days to get to it. And if that's the case, then you got a day or two to make contact with that general manager or whoever is there the next day. Your job as the owner is to freaking lock that thing down, okay? You've already got it signed. Just know this, your next 24 hours are very critical. Can you maintain that call after 24 hours? And we'll find that out. So keep in mind, we're just talking about how can you get jobs from the internet despite an ERP. Number one, they don't know when that ERP is, okay? And you may get kicked off the next day when they locate that ERP, okay? While we're on this topic of the trimester of the commercial job, so phase one is reporting, getting it signed, and getting it started. And then after the first 24 hours, okay, if you're still there one day later, then you got 2 more days. You got 2 more days, and that real 2 days there, or the first 2 days, if you will, sometimes it may not be 3 days, it may just be 2 days, but you need to be able to assimilate your forces and show force. In other words, the general manager of the hotel or whoever the commercial facility that does have the authority to call someone else, do they see that you look like you know what you are doing? Do you have adequate equipment on site? Does it look like that you know what you're doing? If not, they're going to kick you off, and that'll happen in the first 48 hours, okay? Bring in Belfor. If you make it past that 48 hours, you're in pretty good shape. If you make it past the first 48 hours, you're in pretty good shape, okay? So 24 hours, 48 hours, and after that, you're in pretty good shape. Now, we'll talk more about ERPs and getting paid in a moment, but just know this. The internet and ERPs, these are the first and best 2 ways to get commercial water damage jobs or commercial water damage leads. So that's going to lead us in conveniently to ERPs, an emergency response plan. So what is an ERP? An ERP is basically this. You're going to go to that commercial facility. You're going to introduce yourself. You guys are going to already have something worked out. In many cases, you might already have pricing worked out. You have all these different things. And so once you've got an ERP in place, you've got certain specifics that are already hashed out, okay? If this happens, I'm going to call this person. We're going to do this first, do this second. We're going to do this on a cash pay. Here is here's our pricing structure. This is our daily rentals or our weekly. Like, you're going to give them something just so they have something in lieu of nothing. And some ERPs might be really detailed. Some of them might be a little loosey-goosey. We'll look at a small, simple one here in just a minute. But just know this, an ERP is going to look whatever it needs to look like to say, hey, if something happens, here's the first 2 or 3 steps. And this is going to outline what we're going to do. So if this happens, we do this. But if it's this, we do that. And we're going to use this person, and here's our relevant contact information, okay? So it's almost like when you get into a car accident, you go into your glove box, you pull out that cheat sheet that says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's got the small, simple things. That is an ERP, okay? And you can put one of those together for commercial properties or with plumbers, etc. But just know this, the whole idea, the whole notion is this. You're going to build a relationship and tell them, if something happens, we're your people, I'll take care of you, and here are some parameters that you can count on from us. Okay, whether it is this is going to be our pricing, let us know what the deductible is so we'll know should you file insurance or not. We want to make sure we're guiding you in the right direction. And so those are the things you want to put on that ERP. All right, so let's take a look at the ERP. I'm going to share my screen here and we're going to dive in. So remember this is just a basic generic thing for an ERP, and it's basically this. You're going to have your company letterhead, and it's basically going to be a list of who does what, okay? And so for here, I've got just as an example, and these things can be 5 pages if you want. I would say less is more. You just need something for a 1-pager so you can tape it somewhere. Primary contacts, building manager, restoration company, insurance company, name, phone number, etc. Immediate actions to maybe take off, shut off the water. Where is that located? Contact the restoration company, contact for the building. And then maybe some ballpark guidelines. If it's under $10,000, we can do it this way. We can execute it on site with whoever got there with cash. If it's over $10,000, it gets the approval. Just the more information you put here, the cleaner it's going to be for you and your team, and for whoever it is you're executing, okay? And if you're working with someone, find out, have they ever done an ERP before? What did they like? Get a copy of it. Because if you're talking to them and they've done one of them before, there's a reason why it fell apart. So find that out and just run off the old one. See what they like, see what they didn't. And then at the bottom, you do some insurance information, policy, deductible, etc. Those are all going to be things that will be helpful for you to have when you're putting together your ERP, okay? All right, so let's talk about when you're putting together an ERP, what types of facilities would you look for? Medical facilities, okay? You can get those through property managers, but whoever owns the building, you can put together an ERP. Maybe the property manager will help you do that. But in many cases, hotels are really, really good for these. The reason why I like hotels is for a couple different reasons. Number one, these are hospitality businesses, and the local engineer or the janitor, maintenance guy, whatever you want to call him, he is going to be responsible for handling this stuff. Those guys like to dry things out internally themselves automatically. That's why there's so much mold in hotels. All right. And what I would tell you is like what you would do, serve marketing method, you would work with that engineer, help him on his small dry downs. He's already got his own equipment. There may be cases where he needs some extras or he needs your help to dry it out for free. You can do that for him as a service. And in exchange, you'll build goodwill. And the ones that are too big for him to handle, he will call you. And you want the big ones rather than the small ones, right? Of course. So like, just know that getting in with the building manager, the facility maintenance guy, the engineer, whatever you want to call him, the janitor, the custodian, they treat them a little bit differently. But one guy at one specific hotel, he will also know the local custodian, engineer, etc., and some of the other ones, right? And so those guys talk, and these are really good ways to get in. So find out how you can serve them. Maybe it's cleaning carpets, cleaning windows. I don't care what you're doing. Build relationships with that way, and you can put that ERP with that person, okay? So hotels are good, nursing homes are good, medical facilities, things like that. If you guys want to know more information, you want me to do another video on ERPs, let me know in the comments and I can put some more stuff together. But just know this, those type facilities are the ones that you would do the ERP with. And basically you want to point out who are the primary contacts, what do you do in this case, what do you do in that case? And as long as you spell that stuff out, everybody should be good, okay? And again, we talked about it earlier. They may call somebody else out for the first 24, 36 hours, but hopefully the ERP, if you've got it in place, will allow you to come in and then let them boys get their stuff off of the deal and let you dry it down for real. So now let's talk about executing a job. And we'll use the example of a 4 or 5 story hotel loss in this situation, okay? And so here's the way a lot of the big green guys and a lot of the normal franchises that tackle commercial stuff, here's what they'll do. They will use subcontract labor. Okay, that's it. And they're going to bring their talent in, okay, their W-2 personnel, and they're going to run them as project managers. That's kind of what we would do, all right? So I'll show you what I did. What we did whenever we had a large commercial job come in, and when I'm saying large commercial, the extent that I did, I think 4 or 5 story hotel floods. That was like some of the bigger ones we did. We did like some 50,000 square foot commercial facilities, 2 stories as well. But like we didn't do like 10-story office floods, right? That's not that. So most of the times that we dried it, full disclosure, we dried it with portables. We didn't use deskets and stuff like that. And if you don't know what a desket is, then you're going to have to use portables anyway, okay? There's a lot of different things. When it comes to doing 3 and 4 story hotel floods, deskets can be intrusive. Maybe they want you in, maybe they don't. When you're using portables, you can dry stuff and move it around. They can keep the hotel up and operating. And in many cases, that's what they want, okay? They do not want to shut down. They want to keep that thing running. And so you got to kind of know what you're doing. That's why commercial jobs are tricky, okay? How you mitigate it's going to be a little bit different. You need to have that worked out with your general manager or with that point of contact with that facility manager. And they may not know the S500. I'm sure they don't. And they probably don't care. So you got to make sure that whatever they're trying to get you to do does not violate your code of ethics or being professional. What I mean by that could be, like, for instance, they're not going to like pulling wallpaper in many of these cases. So like there's a lot of stuff that they don't want to do that you either going to have them sign a waiver or something, okay? Maybe it's pulling cove base, any one of those things. So just be aware. Commercial facilities cut corners, bro. They cut corners. Just telling you. Okay, so let's get back to how you execute this stuff. So what we would do, if we got a 4 or 5 story hotel flood, I'm gonna take each one of my lead technicians. Billy's on 5, Bobby's on 2, Justin's on 3, Blake's on 1, and we just stack them up, right? And I learned this from some of my other buddies that run restoration companies, and we would bring in demo boxes, and each floor would get a big demo box, and a demo box has just got everything that you would need for a temporary crew to come in. And we would typically plan for, so we would turn our lead technicians into project managers, and they would run that floor, okay? And so one lead technician is now maybe managing 6 people, just making sure they're doing everything right. And in that, we might have, you know, half a dozen pry bars, putty bars, just simple things for doing light demo, okay? And that's how you're going to do it. You're going to use, and it could be project manager, anybody at your team, they're going to take a floor, they're going to take a floor, they're going to take a floor, and you bring in your subcontract labor or whatever your temp agency stuff looks like. And we'll get into that in a minute, how we utilize people. But I'm just telling you, your W-2, becomes a project manager, and then you just execute it. Floor 4, 3, 2, 1. The cool thing about doing hotel floods too is like, you know, it goes straight down, right? And so like what you're doing on the 4th floor, 3rd floor, 2nd floor, yeah, some of them are a little bit wetter than others, but what you have to do, the dry them is going to be about the same, all right? Just about the same number of same pieces of equipment, same demo schedule in many cases. You know, exterior walls are exterior walls. You got to do what you got to do with insulation. So yeah, that's how that part works, all right? Now, another little pro tip, when you're doing commercial work, go to your elevators, take a picture. That will give you the floor plans, okay? So if you want to know what everything's going to like, the sketch, go to the elevator, get your little fire escape, take a picture, and boom, that will give you a better idea, and you can chart that out from there, all right? There are other things you can do with moisture logs, and you make sure you know what rooms are what. We'll get into that in a different video if you really need me to walk you all the way through that. But the bigger thing is like, how do I get enough people to do the demo? And that's what you're going to do. You're going to bring temporary people in, your W-2s become project managers, and you execute it from there, okay? Now, let's talk about subcontract crews. Like, how do you find a good subcontract crew? And I would tell you guys this, like, this is what I found to be true. Keep in mind, I was a general contractor for years, so this is the world that I came from. But I like to go to commercial steel stud framing crews, okay? I would go to commercial steel stud framing crews, and those guys are the people that I would use as my temporary laborer. Few reasons why. Number one, commercial steel stud framing crews, they do a lot of work, they know what they're doing. They know how to do carpentry, whether it's metal or it's wood, steel stud framing, so they can run drills, they've got all their tools, but if they can put the wall together, they know how to take it apart. But a steel stud framing crew can assemble a wall, whether it's wood or it's or steel. They can install insulation, because that's what we do in the commercial world. One crew will do the framing, insulation, they'll hang the 5/8 drywall, and then they'll finish it. And then they even come back and they do the ceiling tiles, right? So literally, they'll do floor, ceiling tiles, everything. They're doing everything but mechanicals. And this is one crew, bro, one crew, right? And so for me, all you got to do is build habla el español, and at least in Nashville. And if you can't speak Spanish, then go get Google Translator, right? There's no reason for you not to be able to communicate with these dudes from wherever they're from. There's no reason, right? You want to keep it very, very simple. But you can use these steel stud framing crews. These guys have their own tools, okay? And they typically will have insurance because they're working on commercial properties, right? And if they know how to put it together, they know how to take it apart. And guess what? Drywall is not light. 5/8 drywall is even heavier. And these dudes are used to huffing, like freaking toting 4x12 sheets of drywall. These are men, bro. They are men. And so they really do a good job. Steel stud framing crews, that's who you want to use. If you guys need more help locating steel stud framing crews, I can tell you in another video, and just drop a comment down below and let me know, all right? But there's a way that I find them by going to the commercial wallboard supplier, etc. And not only that, when you go to find the steel stud framing crew, these are a lot like roofers. So they'll typically be one head dog, okay? There's one jefe, and one jefe may have 4 or 5 crews. And while they should be W-2s, they're all 1099s. I already know that, so that's the way the world works. But you can make contact with one jefe, and he can put you in touch with 3 or 4 crews, okay? And so I would structure something with the one guy and be like, hey, I need 3 guys, I need 6 guys. And you just pay them hourly. And I would structure it like this. Typically, that head guy's paying his guys $20 an hour. If he pays him $20 an hour, bro, I'll give you $40 an hour. Let's go. You double it, pay them plenty of money. There's plenty of profit out there. You just structure it however you need to, and just pay them day rates. Just pay them day rates, okay? If they like, so I think for us, what we would normally do, I think it was $640 for a 2-man crew for a day. That's what I was paying. Made a killing off of it. Made a killing. Now we've talked about how do you get the jobs, the internet, ERPs. We've talked about how to execute it, utilizing subcontract labor, specifically steel stud framing crews. And now let's move to the third piece, which are some of the good do's and don'ts when it comes to getting paid. So one of the biggest problems or the biggest challenges when you're doing commercial work is this: getting the contract signed by someone that has the authority to do it, okay? You want the building owner to sign your contract. You want the building owner to sign your contract, not the property manager. If the property manager is signing this thing, that thing should be a cash pay, okay? I'm just telling you, you want the building owner to sign it. There are cases to where you can have the tenant sign it, There are cases where the tenant might have mitigation coverage, but in many, many cases, the tenant is just like a renter in an apartment, okay? They have renter's insurance, not building insurance, okay? And the insurance that comes with one is different than the other. So I have dried out a sushi restaurant in Nashville, by the way. Pro tip, if you enjoy eating at a restaurant, specifically a sushi restaurant, and you get a call to dry that thing out and you like eating there, call someone else to dry that thing out. Do not go in that kitchen unless you want to stop eating there. Another pro tip, dude, dentists, orthodontists, whatever, these dudes are cheap. They're arrogant. Just beware when you're working with a dentist. If he doesn't own the building, treat that man like a cash pay, give him a number. Just know this, those dudes think they run the world. They think they're smarter than they are. And they'll fight you in court just because they're buttholes, a lot of them. Dentists are weird, bro. They're just weird. And so if you're doing a dental office and he doesn't own the building, give him a ballpark, cash pay, and I would do like a 60-40, 60 up front or 50-50. Like, just beware. Those dudes can be really quirky. Dentists can, all right? But make sure you got the right person signing your contract. They don't own the building. It's like a renter. Number two, you need to find out, is this going to be a cash pay or an insurance job? And you need to know what the deductible is. You just need to know this stuff really, really quickly. Why? Because now we're about to get into the good piece. If it's going to be a large job and it's going through the insurance route, you need to make sure that the adjuster knows and understands that it is a large job. Because if you think it's an $80,000 job and he thinks it's $15,000 job, we got a problem. Okay? So what I want to do when I'm working a commercial job, I want to get a hold of the adjuster within the first 24, 48 hours and let them know ballpark what we're thinking, what we're talking about, and just open that conversation about what I think the range of this job is going to cost. And I want to make sure that they also are on board with that. And then once they understand the ballpark, this is going to be a $50,000 to $80,000 job. We're good with that. He can handle that. We're right. Then the next thing I'll be like, okay, great. I'll work that up. I would like to get a 30% deposit or a $15,000 or $18,000 draw. Like, you want to get a draw. And if that adjuster won't give you a draw, or if he'll at least tell you that 50 to 80 is good, I may be cool without a draw. But like, if we have not agreed on a price, I want to agree on a draw schedule. And if you guys are flush with cash and you okay with that, then that's fine. But I want to know what a deposit's going to be coming my way. That's just me. And if that adjuster's not going to be able to give you that, or the adjuster's, on vacation or just playing Stonewall, I'm going to the building owner and I'm telling the building owner, yo, I want a 20% deposit. It's going to be between 50 and 80. Let's take a $20,000 deposit. And then I'm going to want my other 50%, okay, within 3 weeks. And like, that's my escalation scale. It's like, this is kind of common sense stuff. But like, when I first got started, I had no idea about this stuff. I just go do the work, like, hope I get paid. And there's better ways to do it. You know what? I think having a plan gives them more confidence that you're not a freaking baboon anyway. You might know what you're doing. But the reason why we want to know cash pay or insurance, if it's going to be insurance, does the adjuster agree with the range that we have? Yes or no? And are they going to be on record about giving us a draw? Now, this talks about another one. Regardless of that, the next thing you want to be able to give them is a weekly update. Give them kind of a daily burn, but especially at least a weekly burn. Because a lot of these cases, these jobs, you might be on them 2, 3, 4, 6 weeks. Depends on what it is, but multiple weeks is standard, right? But I want to be giving them, if it's going to be a week job or 2 week job, then it's probably not a huge one. But if it is, then just give them a ballpark for the daily. But if it's going to be a relatively large one, you're going to be working on it for a month. You got a lot of demo. Give them an idea what the weekly burn rate is. Send them emails and let them know. And then that way, if and when it falls apart, they are being notified in real time that this is my daily burn rate. This is my weekly burn rate. And what does that mean? Said differently. Okay, our equipment that we're running right now, we're running equipment to the tune of $28,000 a week. $28,000 a week. This is the amount of equipment that we're going to be running. Okay. And then the demo is going to be somewhere in this ballpark. And so you may separate labor from your equipment and make sure you give them a weekly burn rate. That's all I'm telling you. Okay. So important things coming back on the commercial stuff. Number one, did you get the right person to sign the contract? It's got to be the building owner. Number two, determine, is it cash or insurance? Why? Because you need to determine who's going to be giving you the draw. Get a ballpark agreement with the adjuster or with the building owner of what it's going to cost. Give them a range, plus or minus 30%, okay? Whatever that thing might be, right? So if it's a $100,000 job, somewhere between 70 and 100 grand. Nail it in, give them some parameters, okay? So give them so they have some idea. And then secondly, you need to give or talk to them about some type of milestone payment. So draw number 1, draw number 2, and we'll work that other stuff. Like, because you may not know if it's going to be 70 or 100. You can work that out on the final bill, okay? But the first, if we know it's going to be 60, let's talk about how you're going to get me that first 50. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful for you guys. If you would like for me to help you grow your restoration company, help you get more commercial water damage jobs, more residential water damage jobs, go to workwithshane.com, hop on a quick 15-minute call, and we'll put you through a 30-day program. Hey, appreciate you watching the video. We'll see you in the next one. If you guys enjoyed that video, I've got 3 things for you. First off, there's a couple of other videos somewhere on the screen. You can click those now to go watch more content about growing your restoration company. Number 2, if you haven't already subscribed, click my face below and that will subscribe you to the channel. And finally, if you would like for me to help you grow your restoration company, go to workwithshane.com, put in your information, and let's get on a 15-minute call. We'll see you then.